Here are the top 5 tax deed questions that beginners have when they're getting started with tax deeds. So I get a lot of questions when it comes to the difference between tax liens and tax deeds. And as a new investor, as you're getting started in this business, you have to be absolutely crystal clear on what the differences are. Now, if you're wanting to buy property and own it, tax deeds are going to be the way to go. If you want to earn the interest rate, the tax liens are going to be the way to go. Now, the great thing about this business is it can seem very confusing at first as you're getting started. And that's a good thing because it keeps out a lot of the people who are following fads and trends. So this is kind of like an insider business, not like insider trading, but it's kind of like an inside track because it's when it comes to like wholesaling and things like that, although it's a great way to go, there's a lot of people coming into that side of the business. So if you're going to do it, we like to get any deal we wholesale, we try to go further upstream as far as getting things that are on the tax lien list and sometimes getting them before the auction. But when it comes to the deeds and scooping things up, you really need to understand what the differences are and be super clear about that. So always remember, with a tax deed, you end up owning the property. With a tax lien, you're getting an interest rate 95% of the time. And I say with a tax lien 95% of the time, the reason is because 95% of the time, the tax lien is going to redeem and you're going to get your interest rate. Now, from there, the big hits with the tax liens are when they don't redeem, because then you can foreclose and get the property. So I see a lot of confusion when folks are getting into this as far as confusing the state that they live in with tax liens and deeds. And it can be very confusing. So we need to get that sorted out, which is what we're going to do here in this video. So if you're just tuning in, appreciate it. Appreciate everybody logging on. I'm Dustin Hahn. I've been doing this business now for about 20 years. And this channel is here dedicated to helping you get started in this business and use tax liens and deeds as a tool to get into real estate and maybe quit your job and use real estate as a full-time income, because it can be fun, it can be flexible, and especially with the way things are now, you can do a lot of this stuff virtually, whereas back in the day, you couldn't do a virtual tax deed sale because you had to be there in person. But now there's a lot of auctions online. So as always, if you want some help getting started, hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe if you haven't, so you can be up to date on the most recent information. We just posted a video talking about how to get super cheap tax liens. And then from there, I give away a totally free mini course, 100 tax lien and deed facts you must know, combined with tax lien and deed investing 101. All of this stuff is on demand. How to get a video in 30, or how to get a deal in 30 days or less. And then of course, the book. If you don't have this yet, print it out. It has all the steps for your auction. So what you do, combine this with the information you get in these videos, and you will have your first deal coming up here super quick, maybe even this week, maybe even in the next day or two, if you're able to execute. That's the really big thing, is the execution part, right? It's you should have like 1 ounce or 1 portion of watching a video, 3 portions of execution. So that's kind of the ratio, depending on when you're watching this. It could be the weekend, but for every hour you put in watching YouTube, you're learning, you should be executing, calling those counties, getting your feet in the game, taking action in this business. So let's come back to our 5 things here. So what is the deed, right? Tax deed is when you own the property. It's not a tax lien. Tax lien, you don't own the property. How does the deed work? So in a lien state, they want the taxes paid that year. So if they're not, they issue the tax lien. Somebody invests, they hold that lien, they don't get the property, but they get an interest rate when the county comes, or when the person pays the taxes, right? With the deed, it could go 3 to 5 years, and then the county puts their foot down and they say, all right, pay us by October 5th, or we're going to auction your property off. The starting bid is going to be the back taxes owed plus any fees involved, okay? So very important there. The next biggest question is, Dustin, what are the risks involved? So the risks involved are if you don't do your research. If you just look at a picture on Google Earth and you go by the property, maybe it burnt to the ground, maybe it was flooded, maybe it's been demolished. So you have to see a recent picture of it. The next risk is not doing proper due diligence. Now, question number 4 is, does the mortgage get wiped out and other liens? Answer to that is yes, because the taxes are the priority lien. So when they foreclose, they wipe out everything above it. However, the problem can occur if the county doesn't notify everybody on the chain of title properly. Okay. So, for example, maybe there's a third mortgage or something like that, and the county doesn't send out the notification properly to that third mortgage. Well, that person can come back and say, oh, wait a minute, you can't wipe me out. You didn't notify me. So that's part of the due diligence in doing tax liens and deeds. And that's why it's important. Other than that, most of the time, the county does a good job, but you have to go ahead and learn how to research the title in that county to make sure that you remove that risk every time. And it's pretty straightforward. However, it is different in every single county that you go to. So that's the fun of this game, right? When you look at wholesaling or fix and flips or anything else, it's generally the same across the board. But with tax liens and deeds, 3,300 counties, 3,300 different ways of doing it. And that keeps a lot of people out, which is great because they just don't want to take a little bit of time and put in a little bit of effort to learn the business. Whereas with you watching this, I know that at least some of you will put in the effort to go and find some of these deals. And I want to hear about it when you do. I want to hear when you get that great deal. Just last week, we had a guy on one of our live streams in Texas. He bought a property. I think he said it was worth 150, bought it for 40. It's not 90% off, but you know what I mean? You're still walking into a good 80, 90 grand in equity. And with this tax deed side of things, you can do deals like that all day long. And then eventually you're going to get those home run, life-changing deals as well. This business is where that can happen because you just need to stick to it. And it's not a matter of if you'll get those deals, just a matter of when. So depending on where you live and where you are, the tax deed states are going to be Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Utah, Alaska, New Mexico, Kansas, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, Maine, and what else we got here? Massachusetts. Redeemable deed states will be Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee, and some in Connecticut. And with the redeemable deed, that means you buy the deed, you have it, but the homeowner has up to 6 months to redeem you. And Arkansas does a little bit of that as well. So very important. And I actually have a contact information for all 1,600 of these in one of the things in this book. It's all, or 3,300 counties, but 1,500 tax deeds. It's all in the second part of this book, which I don't have printed out, but it's there in the access area if you want to go get it. Let's see here. We got a couple questions popping in. Can people bid down the interest rate on a tax? Can people bid down interest rate on tax liens? Yes, that's generally how it works. Is the lien interest will get bid down, and then the winner can get the bid. So with an over-the-counter lien, though, a lot of the times it can be full interest. And a lot of the smaller counties is where you can get a lot of the higher interest rates as well. So super important. Okay. So question here. What are the best states in my opinion? So this is what makes this business dynamic is it's often changing. In my opinion, the best state for you is the one that is the closest to you with the most opportunity. So when I was getting started, I was in Canada. So Washington was one of the closest states. So I could drive down to Washington, cruise across the border, no problem. And then once I did enough, a couple deals, I got the heck out of Canada, moved to California, and never looked back. So that was a good way to go. So that's going to come down to kind of where you are. Now, if you're far away, if you're in another country or something like that, I like to go, if you're going to travel across the country, make sure to go to places that have at least 100 properties that you can bid on. Because I've seen it happen many times where folks will fly somewhere, spend $1,500 on travel to bid on 6 properties that get redeemed. That is not a smart approach. You want to have at least 100 properties if you're going to travel to a deed auction far, because from there, you got to make it worth your while, because the day of the auction, you could be left with only 15 or 20. So, because they're going to redeem the day of. Now, that being said, if you live somewhere like Texas or Georgia, or there's a deed sale happening, it's very important to just go every month and get a feel for it. Even if there's like 6 properties, if they're having an auction every month, eventually your turn's going to come and you're going to be able to score some good deals. Let's see. Great questions coming in. Love it. Let's see. Where can you buy over-the-counter deeds with little to no redemption period? Yeah, check out, basically any deed state can have that possibility. Check out Minnesota, North Dakota, Washington, see what's happening there. A lot of the smaller counties will have things, maybe Idaho. Probably won't find much in the big populated areas, but you can find a lot of cheap over the counter land. Let's see. Upset sale question here. Upset sale in Pennsylvania. Pretty sure the mortgages are not wiped out free and clear. What happens if there's a small mortgage and you own the property? Will the mortgage company work with you? That's a good question. So at the upset sale, if the mortgage is sticking on there, now we've purchased a lot of property in Philly, the deed auction, and those mortgages were wiped out. But if you are going to any type of sale, like an upset sale where the mortgage isn't getting wiped out, then from there, one key thing is going to be you need to research and see how much is that mortgage amount, right? Because if you buy that property and the mortgage is attached to it, you will be expected to pay that mortgage. Now, that's not a bad thing if the mortgage is low enough. Okay. The next question here. Yeah. You're saying Pennsylvania is the closest to you. That's great. Like Philly has a deed sale every single month. There's a lot of action happening there. So definitely become an expert in that sale. And there's a lot of opportunity there for you to be able to dive in. So awesome, guys. Really appreciate the questions. And for anybody tuning in, if you like this content, make sure to hit the thumbs up. Ask me a question in the comments. I would love to hear from you. We love to dive into that. Someone is saying here, what do we got? Question. Can you train me? I pay you. So I work with a couple clients every single month. So what I used to do is I used to sell this book. I've sold probably 50,000 copies of this thing. It's probably the best selling book in tax liens and deeds. And what I did is just flipped it around. So now I just give it all away. And then every single month I work with a couple clients in that regard who really want some one-on-one help. So if you want to book a call and chat about that, there is a link below if you are looking for like mentorship or help and things like that in the business. We love to do it. So we don't work with a lot of people, but we really try to we can work with you on deals and all that sort of stuff. So there's a link below if you want to check that out. Click the more info, and then you can decide if you want to get the book or not. So appreciate that question there. And I keep forgetting that I can put the questions on the screen. I need to start doing that. Jeffrey, man, that's a cool looking dog. What a beautiful fur. Love it. I keep forgetting that I can put all these questions on the screen. So awesome, guys. Hope everybody's having a good week so far. Take this time right now and go ahead and just focus. It's the weekend. Study, depending on when you watch us. If it's through the week, evening, study, watch some videos, things like that. So once again, mentorship with us can range as far as we like to customize it based on what you need. But we don't do, so what you'll see with a lot of these programs online is they'll sell something for like $1,000. They'll get you in and then they'll try to upsell you like a $40,000 training. We don't do that. We're not the cheapest. We're not the most expensive, but we really go above and beyond to work with people. And if it's a fit, that's cool. If it's not, you got more than enough information here to get started as well. Smash that like button. Appreciate that. And let's see here. I always forget about that. I always forget about all these buttons on here. So on that note, guys, I'm going to hop off. Really appreciate you. Yeah, someone said, yeah, that did happen in another company. It happens quite a bit. That's kind of the model as far as when you see those kind of free events, right? It's like, oh, come to I think there's one happening here. You go to the free event. Oh, okay, sign up for the $1,000 thing. And then from there, there's like a $40,000 bump or upsell. So obviously it's a second business for us as well. And, the funny thing is I never really, when I got into this, like I didn't make it my goal. I'm going to teach tax liens. So I'll tell the story real quick. So what ended up happening is I was doing tax lien and deed investing, and I had my own book as far as like what I'm putting together to, my sheet for the auction. Right. And one day I got asked to speak at a real estate event, and I'm like, nah, I don't speak at real estate events. I don't do any of that stuff. I was terrified of doing it. And I said, no. And what happened next is they said, okay, well, just come and do it. And I said, okay, sure. So we went to the real estate event, and I made a little PDF as a handout, gave it to them. And then at the event, there's maybe like 50 people. And the guy hosting the event said, oh, why don't you teach our guys this over a weekend? And then I said, no, I don't do that. And everybody said, or the guy teaching the event said, how many of you would pay $2,000 to learn this over a weekend? And like 10 people raised their hands and gave us checks. So we said, okay, we'll do it. So then we took our PDF and kind of put it into kind of the first version of this. And then from there, I didn't do anything. I didn't teach anything after that for several years. And then one night, like probably 18 years ago, I was just bored. And on my Apple computer was a way to make little websites. So I made this little website about tax liens. And then I uploaded the PDF that I gave away at the event. And then at this point, there was this new company called PayPal. And what I did is I put this PayPal link on there. And then from there, I don't know what I did, but I forgot about the site for 2 years. So 2 years later, I get an email and it said, Dave sent you $50. And I deleted it because I thought it was spam. And then from there, later in the day, I thought to myself, well, maybe someone owed me $50. So I went, I looked in PayPal and the money was real. And I had no idea where it came from. So I called the guy, I said, hey, I think there's some confusion. You sent me $50. And he's like, yeah, I bought your book. And I said, oh, sorry, I don't have a book. And then from there, he said, yeah, I bought it from your website. And I said, oh, I don't have a website. And then he said, you're Dustin Hahn, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, I bought your real estate book. And then it hit me. This thing that I made, it was literally on like apple.me.com. Somehow he found it and downloaded the thing that I did for fun. And then I thought, well, what if I just put this on a website? And then it kind of blew up. And then here we are today. It was never really my intention to do this, kind of just happened. And here we are, and helps a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people now. And we got people watching, people live, and that's great. It's fun. So appreciate everybody hopping on. If you want that same book, in the description below, click the more info button. Cool. Subscribe, ask me some questions, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in.